Class is still no, but he still hit the key word, which is class. I think. I mean, in America, class means style, moxie. You know, anything cool is classy. Interesting choice of word, because in England it means all those things too. It also means class. Right. And you notice, for example, that the word or the term WASP, which is a term of ethnicity to describe the only people who don't have a Fifth Avenue parade, and probably get laughed at if they did have one. It's also
and the percentage of the overall population is declining.
Right, but it's also a term of class. I mean, George Wallace, you could say, was a WASP. He's white, he's Anglo-Saxon, he's Protestant, but he's a dolt, so he doesn't count. Whereas William Buckley, who is Irish and Catholic, somehow is a WASP. So to be able to pull this trick of your ethnicity being your class doesn't give you extra IQ points. It's true, but it gives you points you have to be careful not to exploit sometimes, like the AT&T lady who says, you know, wish you'd keep talking, love your accent. Right. And I always reply to her, actually, it's not me who has the accent, madam, it's yourself. And they find that charming, you see. And so I have to be careful not to use it.
They find the accent or the remark?
I like to think both.
All right. Rick, you've written about this.
I mean, one owner sees another owner with a Brit editor, and they follow suit. It's a trend.
Yes, well, I might add here that all these owners are Americans, and that's also true in Fleet Street. I don't know what proportion. It must be well over half of Fleet Street is owned by North Americans, if you count Canadians.
That's a very good point.
And so we're just a hired help. I mean, it's just like having an English butler.
That's exactly right. In fact, we're
not going to get above us.
Get me an English editor to go with my English butler, my English secretary.
This is our paltry, tiny, ironic revenge for the total surrender of British power to the American Empire.
Yes, it absolutely. Is. Right. It's a slight reverse for the cultural imperium. America dominates the world with Hollywood and all the other cultural influences, and the tiny infusion of British, who are not bottom feeders in my judgment, is a small compensation for the national...
What is a bottom feeder? I think we need to clear this up.
Mr. Henry,
otherwise the audience is going to think it's one of those things the British...
You haven't gotten over that remark, have you?
No, I'm serious. So wrong.
I'm serious. It sounds like the audience is going to conclude it's one of those things the British are sort of famous for in their public schools. Yeah. If we don't clarify this, I want to know what a bottom feeder is.
It means living off the waste at the bottom of the river.
Well, actually,
it means being a garbage fish.
Expense accounts. That's why British people came here, which is magazine bottom feeding. Although British editors weren't covering that, they didn't understand the American events.
No, in America, there's heaps of tendentious journalism, but it comes packaged as objectivity. That's the only difference. I mean, in Britain, the press doesn't pretend to be objective, and furthermore, we have a more parliamentary way of approaching politics. Dialectical, oppositional. In America, the search all the time, and you can see it in any newspaper you open, is for
consensus.
For consensus. Harry beat me to it. Consensus.
Yes. Very, very well. Sounds like our broadcast, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But that must be related to the class point also, because in America there isn't supposed to be a class system, whereas anyone who's been dragged up in England has class in the air they breathe, and everyone's, as Orwell says, all English people are branded on the tongue. Right? So that it helps when you come over here, you have a sort of extra, or you may have, if you're lucky, an extra status radar, as Tom Wolfe calls it. Wolfe, by the way, has the Brits very well taped, I think. In the Bonfire of the Vanities, the role played by the English in New York is, I think, brilliantly exposed. And it goes with the turning of England into a kind of theme park, populated by upstairs, downstairs, downstairs characters and
we are on PBS after all.
Well, you know what Tom Wolfe calls PBS? Petroleum's British subsidiary. So there you have it in a nutshell.
I'm much more interested in the
No, actually, that's not quite true. I mean, Bill Buford, who's a friend of mine, is the editor of Granter, which is a very successful magazine. It's now bound in with the New York Review of Books. Also, by the way, Buford has written by far the best
account of soccer
violence, and reminded us there are far more soccer hooligans than there are butlers in the length and breadth of England, which is not an impression you'd get if you only got England from the tube. Yeah, and a bit of a hooligan also.
Versatility.
Incidentally, look at the prestige of The Economist in this country.
Exactly.
It's extraordinary. People.
What is that? Is that the same idea we respect?
Yes, it's inordinate and outsized.
My hometown rag, the Washington...
I mean, the respect it gets is far beyond what it deserves.
It's extraordinary. I mean, my hometown rag, the Washington Post, will quote The Economist as if it was quoting a government source. Yeah. It's quite amazing.
A source in London said today.
Yeah, it's really astonishing. That really isn't my impression, that we hire one another. It certainly hasn't been true of me, for example.
Yeah. Well,
you would have done better.
Sorry, did I look too serious? I mean, I'm really thinking about it. I don't know of any Brit who's hired a Brit.
Well, I have.
I know that...
you know them or you have?
I have hired Brits, yeah.
Well, you say you've hired a design, but only because...
But Anna Wintour hired James Truman. I mean, we can go on.
Anna Wintour's an American.
Well, so is Tony. So he claims, but I mean,
so is Anthea Disney, as a matter of fact.
Well, and so is Rupert Murdoch. But let's.
Was that because they're naturalized? Is that what we're saying?
No,
Therefore,
Anna's
they
mother is American. So, as you know,
right.
it's like Judaism. It's in the matrilineal line, being a
So you're
Yank.
suggesting there's a conspiracy, actually, that...
Or when the royal family's dropped its knickers. Those are the times we get in the news.
Otherwise, you're just there.
Otherwise, we just keep going.
All right. Thank you all. Yes, Christopher.
I was going to say, otherwise we are just a historical theme park. Otherwise we're the remains of the day.
A footnote to history, are we?
Perpetual butlers.
But don't write us off.
Remains of the day.
But over where my country grows polite.
Thank you
like
all.
saluting.